Hi,
guys.
hi, Victor. Hi, Caio.
All right. Thank you for joining us live. And first of all, are you an iOS developer?
Yes, I am an iOS developer.
For how long have you been a developer in general, not just iOS?
Yeah, well, I started my university in 2011, but I guess like I started developing more serious in around 2014. So I would say around 5 plus 6 years.
And as an iOS developer?
Yeah, pretty much the same time. So I started my career as an iOS developer. This was the main thing I did most of my career.
Okay.
Awesome. And how can we help you?
Yes, so I reached like a point in my career like I feel stuck. So like I developed this like feeling for development, and it works great for like smaller teams and general day-to-day tasks. But like at some point, we our team grew bigger. We are more developers. We are more teams, and it's becoming increasingly more complex. And also like I need to like to communicate my solutions, my like my approaches with other developers, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to do that. So I'm really struggling a little bit to transition to this like more scalable solutions, like easier to discuss them, communicate them, adapt them to different cases and so forth.
Right. Yeah, that's a common path we all go through. What we learn in the beginning of our careers, it doesn't scale, right? And then we need to learn new techniques, right? Because what gets us from junior to mid is not what gets us from mid to senior developer and so on, right? So
Yeah,
sorry, Mike.
Yeah, and as you said, Victor, it's like when you have like small teams, might work, but when you start increasing the number of people and working with other teams as well, yeah, it starts getting very tricky.
Yeah, exactly. It's becoming increasingly more difficult to scale it, to scale this approach.
Yes, I remember my first apps, like just like this massive monolith with a bunch of singletons, and it worked, right? It worked. But as you get more and more bigger projects and bigger teams, it doesn't scale. It doesn't scale.
Yeah.
So what have you been doing to bypass this problem? What have you tried already?
Yes, so I'm trying to like dive in more into like sketching diagrams and trying to present this to developers when we're working on solutions and try to align people on that. Yeah, it's a bit more difficult, and I'm not that good at it, so I'm kind of failing with that. It's still a learning thing. What else? Just like trying to make more communication to really align on stuff. And yeah, we try to switch or adapt in our team, and in really like to synchronize across teams. We try to adapt like a different, more like, separated architecture or something like Viper. Not really an architecture, but more like a guideline how to separate concerns. So to help us, to like test things better, to separate things better, and to be able to like replace some stuff in the future when we need to. So this works a little bit, but still I'm trying. I'm really struggling with this like more like planning ahead and structuring, where like like planning, or how to say, like architect a solution.
Right.
Like a good example, for example, is is the solution which you presented, Caio and Mike. Was about like analytics services, in your application. So that was like a really cool video. I really liked it. It was like how you can like break down services, how you can compose them together, and then how easy it is to test and use that. So something like this, like it's really difficult for me to be able to come up with like this level of solutions. I can explain some things, or I can use like some best practices, where I understand some blog posts and it can help me to improve some parts of the code. But to really like plan a whole solution, a whole approach, and then convince my team that like this is great, and then like discuss it with my team, like what are the bad parts and how we can adapt it a little bit more to our current problem. That's a completely different story, yes. And I'm not yet there. So Can you advise something on how to really get there?
Practice. You will come with experience, right? You're already practicing, right? And
Yeah.
it's okay to, like, in the beginning, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to present ideas in a whiteboard session, write diagrams, because it's not just about presenting the ideas, but it's actually understanding these ideas so well that you can teach others, right? And understanding them so well that you can teach others, because you will realize that you only understand something really well when you can teach others, because that's the hard part, right? Because you can be able to apply techniques, but if your peers are not on board with you, they're not going to be welcomed, right? The ideas will not be welcomed. So it needs to be like a team exercise, right? Everyone needs to be on board of trying to be better and practicing and being open to have these discussions together as a team. Is this something that happens right now? Do you have a team that is actively, everyone is looking for better answers?
I would not maybe say better, but like one of the problems we have is like people coming from different backgrounds and they have a different way of making things, So we have like, sometimes it's even difficult to align on like existing solutions or what we have. So this is also like something, if I would be able to present this in a different way, or like even like establish some kind of communication better, it would help. But definitely we're communicating a lot about that. And it's we have increased the priority of being in sync across teams, or like align more than being in sync. So we are able to even solve the problem if, nobody from our team is present. So even in that case, we can really, dig into like start like working on the project and understand it.
Yeah, absolutely. What I have to say about this is that when you're working with other people, it's just like you're doing things in parallel, right? If you're not pairing with someone, you're both working in the same code base, doing different things, and at some point you need to integrate work. It's just like threading, you can have like different threads doing different things, and at some point you need to integrate that and synchronize the state, right? It's exactly the same thing. And the bottleneck in working in parallel, in threading or in real life working with other people, is the cost of integration. The cost of integration, right? Because you can do things in parallel and say it's faster if you do two things at the same time. But if the cost of integration is higher than just two people sitting together, it's not worth to parallelize things, right? Just like in parallel programming, just making two things in parallel doesn't mean it's going to be faster than doing it serially, right? So to be effective as a team, you need to manage the cost of integration of the work. And this needs to come from the lead developers there. They will come up with some kind of high-level architecture, right? That will accommodate the needs of the app right now. And this architecture may change over time. It will change over time, but it needs to be agreed between the senior lead developers. Some kind of structure that you can work as a team to make everyone efficient. Make sense?
Yeah. I think even right now our lead, like our tech lead, is actively working on this. So it's still like a thing in progress, but he's trying to fix as many of these like alignment issues as possible. So it definitely makes sense. Yes.
So try to be involved in those decisions. Be involved so you are in sync with the goals of the tech team, the goals, what they are planning, and you can even bring ideas. But you're going to learn a lot because you learn from others, right? You will learn all those concepts and applying them from these other developers who have more experience than you, right? By practicing with them, by learning from them.
Great. Yeah, I actually not really volunteer, but kind of represent my team in all of this. So I'm actively participating in this.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and from my part, I would just see it from like another angle. And first of all, you mentioned a couple times the word communication, and I think that's terrific because it's it's common that, you know, teams don't see communication as like a, you know, as like the pillar of everything. You know, it's the foundation. It's a fundamental that needs to exist in order to work efficiently. But at the same time, whilst everyone is trying to communicate, it's like also what are they trying to communicate? And I don't know exactly, you know, of course, what happens in your case, but everyone should be in sync in terms of like what's the goal. Otherwise, like, you know, if one developer thinks the goal is to use, you said like Viper, for example, you know, or the other one or another developer thinks, I don't know, use another technique, MVVM, right? Something like that. And they're not in sync in terms of like, okay, what we need here is scale, as you said. That's the goal. How to scale, right?
Yeah.
So that this is, you know, both are trying to communicate what's best, but they have missed the, you know, the higher goal here, which is scalability, you know. So yeah, this is quite important to be open about that and have everyone make sure they have aligned the incentives. You know, they have like everyone is on the same page, everyone knows the correct goal, and you know, just at the end of the day, just you pick a solution. However, it's like a consensus, or the lead developer is they're gonna pick a solution, and they all agree on that solution, and they go after that.
And you are a senior developer, right?
Yes.
Also, and your job as well is to help the juniors and mid-level developers to stay in sync, you know, with what's going on, in sync with the architectural decisions, so they can it's easier for them to navigate, you know, through the code base, because it's going to be hard for them, much harder. If it's hard for you, imagine for the beginners.
Yeah. We actively do that, actually. But so also like about the goals, I have a question regarding that. So we usually have like, you know, we use a Scrum approach. So we have like sprint goals and so forth. But I think what you're talking about is more like, you know, technical goals, right? Or like, you know, the developer goals. Is this correct?
Yeah, any kind of goals.
It could be anything, right? Yeah.
You need to align the long-term goals, the short-term goals, the technical goals, the non-functional goals, and so on, right? It needs to be very, very, very well aligned with everyone. Even because like discussions will happen, you know, like there will be people that will disagree with a solution. But if you say, okay, I disagree with the solution, but if we're both aiming to the same goal, that's fine, you know?
Yeah.
And this can impede like the scaling part, you know, because if there is friction all the time, there's not going to be growth, or it's going to be, you know, in a decelerating rate from what it could have been, right? So
because I've been in teams that there was a developer that wanted to go all in functional, the other ones wanted to use Viper, the other one used no, let's go MVVM, the other one's like, no, MVVM, no, let's use MVC, you know. And if you have these technical conflicts, like I don't mind which design we're going to use, as long as we achieve the goal.
Yeah.
Right.
And everyone is
don't
on
fight
board
on the techniques, but
just
keep a line on what you want to achieve. And right now it's scalability. And by focusing on the goal, we're going to realize that some solutions will not solve that problem, right? So we're going to have to look for clean architecture. We're going to have to look for continuous integration, things that will make the team more productive, continuous delivery, and so on, right? And what supports those techniques? And you're going to have to find out what supports those techniques. Decoupling, inversion of control, dependency inversion, the solid principles, and so on. And you're going to have to practice those techniques and apply at work. And it's not going to be perfect the first time you do it. It's not going to be perfect. But you're going to be going towards the right direction.
Yeah, makes sense.
Right?
It's the same.
And keep doing.
Yeah.
You know, learn from others, because the best way is to learn from others, from experienced developers. And if you have this in your team, fantastic. Fantastic. Learn from them, stand in the shoulder of giants, you know. but they can only teach what you need to do, and then you need to do it.
Yeah, exactly. As you said, like you mentioned the video with the analytics architecture, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Right. So, there are diagrams there and all these principles that Caio just mentioned. All you have to do is practice now, because like, again, these things will never make sense if you see them, if you watch like a video once, twice, even 10 times, you're going to think, okay, I understood. Then next day you're going to go at work and you're going to open Xcode and say, okay, now what? Right. And what happens is like most probably you're going to open the video and try to fit what you saw in your own code base. And that's not going to work again. It's one of those. So you need to practice, and gradually start applying your work and what you're going to do there.
Trust the process.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, you mentioned a lot like practice, but I found it like a bit difficult to find, you don't have a Duolingo for software architecture, where you can just go in and, put some diagrams together and someone is saying, oh, like this is like, the proper solution, and that is not. So it's something like, a bit more more difficult to practice. So do you have any maybe suggestions for that?
I mean, it's a bit self-serving, but we do have a
I hope
we have a mentoring
academy for that.
We create an academy where we teach, and we have challenges, and you're going to submit your pull request, and we're going to review and provide you feedback as mentors, right? And there are plenty of people that do the same.
Yeah.
So there's no Duolingo automated way of checking this, because I don't think yet anyone can come up with a solution that is automatically like AI that will tell you if this code is good or not, or if this design is good or not. Because it's not like this design is good or not. The problem is this design good for this specific use case?
That's it. Yes.
That's context. You need to have context when you're making architectural decisions, when you're making like automation decisions and so on. There's a lot of context that you need to have to make those decisions, right?
Because the thing is like, I mean, take architecture for buildings, for example, right? Like this is rigid. You design once, you build once, it's done, But like what we do changes literally every single day, right? This is important to understand. So you're building with change in mind, right? So it constantly evolves your design. So there's no like right solution right now. It's always based on the goals of the business, on the goals of the team, right? So yeah. Remember
experience, the learn from others.
Yeah.
And trust the process, you need to apply, because it's very easy to get stuck in the learning phase of putting a lot of information in your head, like read all the books, watch all the videos on YouTube, but it's not going to make sense until you apply it. Because when you start applying, you're going to start seeing patterns repeating over and over and over. You're going to start seeing these patterns, and then things are going to start clicking with time, right? So you need to be we keep saying this, like you learn by doing. If you're not doing, you're not learning, and it's not going to be perfect, because techniques are not natural. That's why they are techniques. They're things that you need to practice. And most of those advanced techniques, they are counterintuitive. They go against everything right now.
Yes.
So you need to have, you need to trust the process and have a little bit of faith that those developers are more experienced than me. They know something I don't. So I'm going to have this leap of faith. I'm going to trust when they give me some feedback. And at some point, I know it's going to click. So I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to do because that's how I'm going to learn.
Yep, understood. I will have to make a more like a better schedule for practicing this more regularly. Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you, Victor.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Who's next? Who's next, Mike?
Mohammed?
Mohammed, are you there?
Yes. You hear me?
Awesome.
Yes. Hello. How are you?
Hello. Hi, Sham. Hi, Mike.
I'm Mohammed.
Yeah.
So first of all, are you an iOS developer?
Yes. I started iOS development at the beginning of 2018. So I have 2 years experience. And I already graduated from computer science faculty in Egypt from Mansoura University. So you have a background software, but the professional career started at 2018 with iOS.
Okay, so you started as an iOS developer.
Yes.
Awesome. So how can we help you?
Yeah. I feel I repeat myself, or I stuck in the same place. You have you hear about clean architecture or tested or CI/CD, and watch tutorials, a lot of tutorials, and read books, but you're feeling freezing or missed when you try to apply this in a project or code. And when I start development, I work with team in all the legacy code, so I always see a nasty code.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the biggest problems, right? We
Yes.
start working and sometimes we learn some bad practices in the beginning, and it's hard to get out of the mess.
Yes.
So what is preventing you from creating a CI server, for example? Do you have a CI server right now?
Yeah, I already used Fastlane as a local server when I upload a new version or a new build. Last 2 months I tried with Bitrise, but it's the normal CI/CD without testing, so just to
Okay,
build.
so you're
And
not doing. Okay, let's start
yeah,
there.
Yeah.
You're not doing CI if you don't have tests, right? Because
yes,
you're not gonna trust the process. Okay, so what is preventing you from writing tests then?
yeah. From writing test, the first problem is how to make a separation layers or write a clean code, or which design pattern should I start or should I apply, and
Mhm.
how can I write test. I already read a lot, but when I started to applying this, you feeling freezing. What should I do? What happened? Yes.
Okay, so feeling stuck when you try to do it.
Yes.
So have you tried it even in personal projects outside work? Because sometimes it's risky to try at work because you have schedules, you have your boss expecting you to
Yes.
deliver a certain time. So maybe you need to do it on your own time.
Yeah, I tried to do the same project as my own project to apply this, but I don't have someone to review this code to know is what I made is good or bad, or what's the right path, or what's the short term or long term.
Right. So you don't
Okay.
have senior developers in your team.
Yes.
Okay.
I work with another senior developer for first 6 months, and after that I'm a solo developer in my current company.
Okay, I had this problem. Like one of my first jobs, I started working for a senior developer, and then he quit like 1 month later, and I was alone as a beginner,
Yes.
having to maintain everything those senior developers created. And
Yes.
so yeah, I understand. So you're gonna have to learn those skills somehow. You're gonna have to take a course. You're gonna have to have someone to teach you how to do those things, because learning on your own is gonna be hard. You don't know if you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. You need to get some feedback, right?
Yes.
So yeah, you're gonna have to take a course or invest in your education somehow.
Yes.
That's
I take a course. I already read a books and buy books, but it's hard to apply.
Yeah, you can buy books and learn, but you're gonna be practicing a lot, practicing a lot and failing a lot and learning from your mistakes. But if you want to accelerate that, you're going to learn from others.
Yes.
There's
there's no other
shortcut.
way, probably. Exactly. I mean, this is my story as well. Like 10 years ago, about 10 years ago, when I was starting out with on iOS development, and like I wanted to become better and better, and I couldn't find anyone, especially here in Athens, Greece. I was at the time, and like I had to look into other platforms, literally, like Ruby, for example. So I was, I mean, it's funny because it's true, I knew, for example, about unit testing and, like solid principles in architecture and stuff like that, but I just couldn't find it in my platform. So yeah, it was predominantly Ruby. There were a couple guys that they were making good videos, and that's what I did. Subscribe to their courses, their videos, whatever it was. I don't remember exactly, but yeah. And then like when I reached another level, by the way, that was in 2014. That's when I left. I left Greece for the UK, and that's where I met Caio as well. And now I was working with, together with senior guys, like real senior guys, and learning a bunch. It was transformative. But my point is, there's no other way. I think, like it's like you need to have someone to show you. And
you know what, your boss can invest in you. I don't know if you saw our podcast earlier today. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I have seen it. I already talked to my boss, and he already buy an package, OBGC package for me, box and videos, and I'm trying to finish to read and apply it.
Right.
I asked him to join academy, but he refused.
Why?
Why is he? For him, it's he see it's expensive. And invest in mine, and so you can move with book and videos.
Right. So he doesn't see the value in it, right? That's it. We don't make investments when we don't see the value. They may think that this investment is not going to return to them.
Yeah, he sees the books and videos. It's enough for the current state.
Yeah, but it's not, right?
Yes. So
one thing should change. You need to convince them. You need to show commitment and say, invest in my skills, otherwise you're going to fail.
Yes.
Oh,
you're right.
Say, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to practice. I'm going to do, even if I have to practice on weekends, I'm going to make your investment count. And then you need to make it count. You need to stick to your word. If you want help from your boss, otherwise you're going to have to go on your own.
Yes. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other way around it. Like, I don't know any other way around it. It's like, yeah.
And with time, luckily, you're also going to work with, like Mike did, find teams that have more experienced people that can teach you, right? Because I've been in your position and it's not fun. I know. Being alone, like learning on your own, it's hard. It's very hard.
Yes. So I think I tried before to move with the TDD series, and I applied a lot, but I stuck in the same place when I try to apply it in a production code or something like this. Yes, and the second step or the second obstacle I have met when you try to refactor legacy code or you're not adding a new feature for this code with the same with the same singleton pattern or something like this, because you don't have time, or you have to release this version as soon as possible. So I think the problem was legacy code, how to refactor it, or how to apply a clean code inside this.
Okay,
refactor.
sorry.
Yes, refactor
Yeah.
code. And another question, sorry. When I try to, I already have in a project, I have a Swift JSON library. It's like a bombing. I tried a lot to remove it, but when I try to remove it, it's like a bombing in the project.
Break everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So first of all, refactoring. If you want to do refactoring with confidence, you need tests, because refactoring, the term refactoring means that you have tests backing up, so you can change the structure of code without breaking the functionality, right? Yeah. It's about not changing the behavior, but changing the structure of code to make it better, clearer, like easier to maintain, right? So you need tests to be doing refactoring and safe refactorings as well. You need to trust those tests. So then you're not afraid of like refactoring code, moving classes, extracting classes, merging classes, and so on, right?
Yeah.
So safe refactoring, tests. And about dependencies, dependency inversion principle, right? You need to separate your application from external dependencies, volatile dependencies. Otherwise, if one day, as you said, you want to change this library or do something else, maybe it's going to be impossible, with the time you have.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to stay with that dependency. We saw a student today saying that they have, because of some dependencies they have with CocoaPods, they cannot upgrade Xcode. They're still stuck in Xcode 11. Imagine that, a dependency preventing you from using the latest tools, it's a problem. So you need to separate external dependencies and push them away from the core of your application as much as you can. And there are techniques for that. There are principles. There are design principles. But you need to learn how to apply them.
Yes. So for refactoring, I should start with testing, right?
You're going to write a test first.
Yes.
Right, to cover the behavior.
Functionality.
And then with the test you can refactor.
Yeah. My question here is about test as a functionality, or make a test to make it succeed.
Sorry?
Say that again, please.
Yeah, for testing, you mean test as a functionality, or make a test for the success behavior for this point, and start then refactor this part with test?
So you're going to write a test.
Yes.
That verifies the behavior of the class or the function, right? And this test is going to be automated, telling you this method or this class does what it's supposed to do. Then you're safe to refactor the code, and you're going to run the test. If the test passes, oh, I didn't break the behavior. Let's extract something else. Let's break down these things into two functions, and so on. Command U is going to run all the tests. The tests you pass, we're good to go, and so on. But you need to write tests, flexible tests that are not coupled with the structure of the code, because if it's coupled with the structure of the code, every time you change the structure of the code, you need to change the test as well. It breaks everything.
Okay.
And there are techniques for that as well. I cannot teach you those techniques in 20 minutes. Sorry. But I'm just saying that it's possible. I'm just saying that those techniques exist. You just need to find out, learn them, practice them, invest in your education.
Okay. So I have another question about the short calls and the long calls. I need to have I specify a short goal to make the right testable code as a daily habit for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the question here?
Yeah. What should I do, or what is priorities should I follow to make this a daily habit?
The
Writing
practice.
tests.
Yes.
What Caio said. Just practice. Yeah. So
Small things you do every day. Small things that you do every day.
yeah.
Okay.
You know? So like writing tests. Like maybe you don't see the benefit of writing a test today, but if you do it every day, the positive benefit will accumulate. You know, like maybe separating a library right now, you don't see the benefit, but you didn't separate it a couple of months ago, and now you're suffering from it, right? Because you didn't follow a principle. There are principles, and you need to learn those principles and you need to follow them, even when it's counterintuitive. You need to follow the principles even when you don't see the benefit right now. You need to trust the process, because it may be a time when it's, if you don't, you might reach a point where it's too late.
Yes.
Then the cost of change is much, much higher. And you're going to wish that you did it.
Okay.
Yep.
So learn good foundational design principles in general, and apply them every day.
Okay.
All right?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for your answers.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Bye.
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 Bye. Take care.